For the longest time, I believed that everything in life worth having takes time. But when it came to love, I'll admit, there were moments I doubted that. I used to think maybe destiny had other plans, that perhaps some people were meant to build, to create, to chase visions that reach the stars, but not necessarily to find that one person who makes the journey feel complete. Still, deep down, I held on to something, a quiet kind of faith, not the loud, flashy kind, but the kind that whispers, wait, the right person will come. A patience in this world is underrated. We live in a time where everything is instant, messages, results, even relationships. But the most meaningful things, the things that last, rarely arrive on our schedule. They take shape slowly, over time, often when we've stopped obsessing over them. I learned that the same way you wait for a rocket to align perfectly before liftoff, love also demands precision, timing, readiness, and trust. You can't rush the process without risking the mission. There were times I felt like maybe love wasn't in the cards for me. I had visions, goals, ideas that consumed my energy. It's easy to lose yourself in the work, to convince yourself that you're fulfilled by progress alone. But at some point, when the noise settles and the day ends, you realize progress without connection feels hollow. It's like launching in an orbit without anyone to share the view with. Faith, that's the part that carried me through the waiting. Not just faith in some abstract idea of love, but faith in the notion that everything aligns when you're ready, not when you're desperate. You see, life has this remarkable intelligence. It knows when to give you what you need, even when you're not sure what that is. For me, that meant years of learning, failing, growing, becoming the person capable of recognizing her when she finally appeared. And that's the beauty of patience. It transforms longing into preparation. Every experience before her was training. Every heartbreak, every false start, every moment I questioned myself, it all built something inside me. Resilience, clarity, the ability to see beyond the surface. I began to understand that I wasn't waiting for perfection. I was waiting for connection. The kind that doesn't fade when things get difficult. The kind that feels grounded even in uncertainty. When she came into my life, it wasn't a grand explosion of fireworks or some movie-like moment. It was subtle, like a shift in gravity. Something in me recognized that this was different. That quiet patience I'd cultivated over the years suddenly made sense. It was as if life had been preparing me, not just to meet her, but to appreciate her, to not take her for granted, to recognize the miracle of her presence. Patience taught me to listen. Faith taught me to trust what I couldn't yet see. Together, they shaped the foundation for everything that followed. Because love, real love, isn't a lightning strike, it's the sunrise. It starts slowly, builds warmth, and before you know it, it fills your world with light. If I had rushed it, if I had settled for less than what my soul was truly asking for, I might have missed her entirely. I might have mistaken motion for progress, attraction for connection, or comfort for love. But patience has a way of revealing truth, and faith ensures you don't give up before you find it. In a world obsessed with speed, I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is wait with intention. Wait not out of fear or loneliness, but out of belief. Belief that what's meant for you won't pass you by. That's the kind of faith that rewires how you see the world. So when she finally appeared, the answer to prayers I'd whispered on long, quiet nights, I knew instantly this wasn't coincidence. It was alignment. Everything, every delay, every doubt, every lesson had led to that moment. And that's when it hit me, the universe doesn't make mistakes. It simply waits until you're ready to receive what you once thought was impossible. There's a moment in every great story when everything shifts, not with noise or spectacle, but with a quiet certainty that something extraordinary has just begun. For me, that moment wasn't planned. It wasn't scheduled between meetings or designed like a blueprint. It just happened. And yet, it felt like the universe had been orchestrating it all along, waiting for the exact second when both our paths would finally align. I still remember the first time I saw her. There wasn't some cinematic slope, motion effect, or music swelling in the background. But there was a pause, a brief, electric stillness, as if the air around us knew something I didn't. It wasn't attraction in the ordinary sense. It was recognition. Like my soul had been searching through millions of faces, and suddenly, it stopped. That's her. That's the one. What caught me off guard was how natural it felt. There was no effort in being around her. No need to impress or pretend. It was as if I'd been holding my breath for years without realizing it, and in her presence, I could finally exhale. Every conversation flowed, every silence felt comfortable. There was a groundedness in her energy, something real and unfiltered, that cut through the static of everyday life. It's funny, you spend years building systems, solving impossible problems, chasing things that exist beyond the horizon, and yet a single glance from the right person can recalibrate everything you thought mattered. She did that to me, not by demanding my attention, but by existing so authentically that it reminded me what connection truly feels like. She didn't orbit my world. She became part of its gravity. We talked for hours that first day. It wasn't about big achievements or future plans. It was about life, curiosity, ideas, and the small, human moments that shape who we are. The more she spoke, the more I realized I wasn't just hearing her words. I was seeing her vision of the world. It was thoughtful, kind, and full of wonder. She didn't look at life as something to conquer, but something to understand and cherish. And I thought to myself, this is what balance looks like. That night, when I went home, I couldn't stop thinking about her. Not in the way you think about a crush, but in the way you reflect on something profound, something that changes the trajectory of your path. It was as if she had planted a question in my mind. What if love isn't a distraction from purpose, but part of it? The next time we met, I paid closer attention, not to what she said, but to how I felt, calm, focused, present. For someone like me, whose mind often races miles ahead, that was rare. She had this ability to pull me into the moment, to remind me that being fully present with someone is one of the purest forms of connection there is. Over time, I began to notice how everything around me seemed to shift subtly. My days were still full of challenges, decisions, and chaos, but they all carried a new sense of meaning. Even the toughest moments felt lighter, more purposeful, because there was now someone whose presence reminded me why it all mattered. She wasn't the answer to a question I'd asked out loud. She was the one I'd been asking in silence all along. You know, people often talk about breakthroughs as if they only happen in labs or boardrooms, but sometimes the biggest breakthrough is emotional. It's when you realize that despite all your planning and ambition, the most valuable discoveries are human. She became that moment of discovery for me, the proof that the heart can find clarity even in the midst of complexity. It's remarkable how one person can change your entire sense of direction without ever asking you to alter your course. She didn't ask me to slow down, to change who I was, or to fit into her life. Instead, she walked beside me, and suddenly the journey made more sense. Looking back, I think the universe has a way of revealing the extraordinary through the ordinary. One conversation, one smile, one unexpected encounter, and suddenly, everything that once felt uncertain becomes clear. That was the moment everything changed. The moment I realized that no amount of logic or planning can explain the force that draws two people together at exactly the right time. And when it happens, you just know your life has split into two parts, before her and after her. When I say she's the answer to my prayers, I don't mean it in some abstract or poetic way. I mean it in the most real, tangible sense possible. She is everything I hoped for during those long, quiet moments when I questioned whether love like this actually existed. For years, I focused so much on building, creating, pushing boundaries, and yet, deep inside, I knew there was still something missing. That space wasn't meant to be filled by success or recognition. It was meant to be filled by someone who could see the human beneath all of that. Someone who wouldn't be impressed by what I'd achieved, but inspired by who I was trying to become. She doesn't complete me. I've never liked that phrase. Instead, she complements me. She balances me in ways I didn't realize I needed. Where I see